Hi, I'm Soul. In this video, I am going to be doing an analysis slash review of Joker Folie à Deux. I wanted to make this analysis slash review because I've seen some reviews from major publications and I feel like they were very unfair in their reviews. And obviously in this video, I'm going to be speaking with bias as someone who loved the original Joker and as a little monster, but I'm going to try and be as objective as possible. If you're watching this video on the day that it's posted or near the day that it's posted, you're probably wondering, how the does this bitch know anything about this movie? How has he seen it? And your guess is as good as mine, because I simply received an email invitation and I am beyond grateful to have seen it at the special screening at IMAX headquarters, Playa Vista in Los Angeles. I am not an influencer, nor do I necessarily aspire to be one, but I was lucky enough and I'm very blessed, and as a little monster I'm beyond grateful because Gaga actually surprised us and she introduced the movie and did a Q&A afterwards, and she threw popcorn to the audience and I was lucky enough to catch a fucking bag. So thank you, Gaga. I am going to put this in resin and have you sign it one day, hopefully. We also got free t-shirts, which we now know are in reference to the accompanying Harlequin album by Lady Gaga that is to drop on the 27th of September. I'm very excited for that, and hopefully I can do a reaction on this channel. Here is a quick little clip I shot of Gaga's introduction of the movie.
I think I've been playing some version of A Broken Bird my whole career, and you've been there for like every iteration of that, but she's different. And I think I put some of the most private parts of myself into her. And when I watched it back, I thought like, oh, that made it in there. Like there's some things in her that are somebody that is standing on really shaky ground.
She was incredibly kind, and I am so honored to have been in her presence, and I'm very excited to see everything that she's going to do, and I hope that she reaches even greater heights. Now, here is my spoiler-free review, hopefully. Initial thoughts? Incredible movie. I really haven't seen anything quite like it, to be honest. I am not the biggest fan of musicals. The only things that really come to mind that are memorable and of my liking are Grease and The Little Shop of Horrors, but it's kind of about it. And let me tell you, they're nothing like this movie. The movie follows in the aftermath of Arthur Fleck's murder of Murray Franklin on live TV. Whilst in Arkham State Hospital, Arthur meets Lee, another psychiatric patient who also deals with dual identities. The movie follows them as they prepare for Arthur's upcoming murder trial. This movie tries to lure you into a false sense of safety when we know for absolute certain that none of the characters are ever safe. The contrast between affection and violence occurs so swiftly to the point where I even jolted out of my seat multiple times. This movie is dark and brutal, but also whimsical and magical, and that's why it's incredibly interesting. These characters are doing their best to fix themselves when they are subjected to harsh cruelty. This movie is a character analysis of Arthur Fleck, taking apart who he is, who people expect him to be, and his relationship with Lee. It's a movie that challenges us to empathize with a criminal, which is a very scary thing to do, but it's why this movie works. We are supposed to feel uncomfortable. It's a devastating story because we are forced to empathize with a man whose psyche has been destroyed by the world, but has found newfound hope in Lee. But could he possibly have a happy ending after everything he's been through and everything he's going to go through? We as an audience are subjected to feel hopeful and hopeless all at the same time, whilst being caught in the midst of their shared madness. I had an issue with Variety's review of Joker Folie à Deux. The issue that Variety takes with this movie is that it doesn't allow Joker to be dangerous. However, that was not the intention of the first movie, nor is it the intention of this movie. And why would it be? We are meant to empathize with Arthur Fleck for the horrors he's been subjected to. The first movie establishes that Arthur Fleck is not an evil person, but a man who was pushed to his limits to the point where he committed murder. But only after everyone in his life failed him. Variety's issue is that they interpreted Arthur Fleck as a, quote, sociopath from a Scorsese fever dream, end quote. But let's be real, Arthur was never meant to be so. In fact, he feels far too emotional, far too attached to things, despite not necessarily seeing reality. The critic of the Variety review wants him to be this dangerous criminal, but that was never the way he was written. He was a sick man who was severely abused and mistreated, and snapped, killing the people that hurt him. The audience is being forced to empathize with a murderer, which is very scary to do, but it actually reflects a real-life issue that we face, which is the lack of funding to help people who experience severe mental health issues. This critic obviously did not understand the point of Arthur Fleck's character. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the reason for this perspective is because they're probably tied up in the comic book world, the blockbuster movie world, probably believing that he is supposed to become the Clown Prince of Crime from the DC Comics, failing to realize that this is a completely different character that simply took inspiration from the source material. The Variety review also mentions that Gaga is underused, and I actually could not disagree more. Firstly, because this is a Joker movie. This is not titled Harley. I feel like the reason this critic may believe that Gaga is underused is what I actually think helps support the narrative of this movie. Lee is a stranger. Joker does not know her. Joker has no reason to trust her. Lee is a mental patient that Joker has fallen in love with. But there is supposed to be tension, mystery, doubt. If we saw an excessive amount of Lee in this movie, we would risk losing that purposeful tension that has been created so that the audience sees from Joker's POV. The critic reduced this movie into something simple and flat, and I find that completely unfair. In fact, I think it's the opposite of what actually happens. I think it's irresponsible to ignore all of the details in this drama in favor of saying, well, we were at an asylum, and then we were at a courtroom, and then something happens, and then that's it. This movie is a disturbing love story, a literal bad romance. It plays with audiences' expectation that, again, from my experience watching, makes us hopeful and hopeless at the same time. Another review that I did not agree with was from The Hollywood Reporter. They called this movie narratively thin, but that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. The narrative is the point of this movie. Like I said, this movie is a character analysis. We delve into what Arthur thinks like, what he dreams like, how he perceives the world versus how he is actually treated by everyone else. The Hollywood Reporter mentions a critique from the Evening Standard, claiming that the movie takes us nowhere slowly. But as I keep trying to emphasize, this movie is a character analysis, where the audience is meant to delve into the mind of a criminal and experience the world as he experiences it, challenging us to empathize with a mentally ill man who committed murder after everyone in his life failed to help him. Again, I have a feeling that this critic also had some certain expectations that are more so related to the original source material when, like I keep trying to emphasize, has nothing to do with this movie or its characters. The Hollywood Reporter also claims that Harley is not granted the opportunity to grow as a character. But is that really the point when the movie is set from Joker's perspective? Lee is meant to be, and not to be, a weird f***ing little monster for a moment. She is supposed to be an enigma. Is Lee to be trusted? Is what's being said about her true? what are her real intentions with Joker? In film theory, one of the first lessons is to get the audience to ask questions so that they can guess what happens next. Lee is a dangerous character because we don't know what to expect from her, or what her impact on Arthur will be. Her development directly depends on Arthur, who may or may not be freed from Arkham depending on the outcome of the murder trial. The audience is not meant to experience traditional character development from either of these characters because they're both mentally ill criminals. Our job is to see the humanity in them. Our job is to understand how they're dealing with situations that they're being subjected to in this movie. I think my only critique of this movie is I suspect that there were scenes cut that included Lee. I believe there's even a moment from one of the trailers or teasers that is not in the movie, but I'm not going to spoil which it is. You'll just have to see the movie for yourself. I am, however, hoping for an extended director's cut. I understand that musicals aren't for everyone, and I understand that it's hard to look past something different from such a beloved franchise such as Batman. But this movie is far detached from the source material. It is simply inspired by it, and I believe that this tension between the expectation of what they want Arthur to be and what he actually is why a lot of people have issues with this movie. I am a fan of experimentation and evolution. The genre bending in this movie is really something else, and I think it works really well. So I would say give it a chance. What do you got to lose? The acting is phenomenal. The cinematography is stunning, and the musical sequences are magical. I give this movie 5 out of 5 stars. This is my favorite acting I've seen from Joaquin Phoenix, and this is my favorite role I've seen Gaga do since American Horror Story. If you've made it this far watching, you're a sick f***. I'm kidding. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I have a BA in Film and Media Studies and would love to continue making film and media analysis videos / reactions / other shit. If you're interested in that sort of thing, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more from me. Until then, see you next time.